We just had some really important information drop about how cryptocurrencies are viewed on a global scale right now, and in this recent survey of over 28,000 retail and institutional investors from across 23 different countries, the vast majority of people saw cryptocurrency as something that is trustworthy right now, despite it being in one of the worst bear markets that it's ever seen. Now, when we look at the numbers for the second and third world countries, these numbers drastically increase in how confident people are in cryptos on a global level. So I want to break down and explain what all this means and what these numbers actually are, because there is a secret behind this that a lot of people just overlook. There is this idea that because I can't use cryptocurrencies or DeFi or any of these alternative platforms in my first world seat in the United States, that it's not applicable to anyone. And in reality, that's not what we're seeing across the board. And these second and third world countries are really the ones that are benefiting at the moment of making this video. Now, I also want to talk about what's happening on the chart of Bitcoin, because there's a lot of confusion in this area. And I think a little bit of technical analysis is due here, because after Bitcoin broke multiple support levels and multiple different moving averages, I want to talk about what I think Bitcoin can do in the immediate future. So if that does sound interesting, make sure you stick around for the entire length of this video, as there will be important information discussed the entire way through. But let's go ahead and take a look at this interesting release that we saw about global cryptocurrency confidence. So this article is coming from Cointelegraph, and in this recent report, they saw around a 70% confidence in cryptocurrency across the board. And this was, again, taken globally. 28,000 people across 23 different countries. This isn't just like a select survey where they go into Miami, where people are typically very bullish on Bitcoin, and just do a targeted survey. No, because this is a global survey with a ton of people. And across the board, we're seeing crypto trustworthiness, I guess if that's a word, go up from anywhere from 61 to 65, now up to 70%. And when we're looking at these second and third world countries like Brazil and Chile and Mexico, the trustworthy percent goes up to something like 77 and 69 and 70 is the average. So it goes up by about 10 percentage points. And the unique thing about this, and the thing that a lot of people don't understand, is that when it comes to how cryptocurrencies and decentralized applications and blockchain tech and DeFi and all of these different access points, all of these different categories of cryptocurrencies work, people just look at their current condition and say, oh, well, I make $70,000 or I make $100,000 inside of the United States, or I live in the United States. So if I need a loan, I can just go to a bank. And that's great for you, but the vast majority of people can't actually do that in the world, and they don't have access to a tier 1 credit and financial system. And so when we're looking at these countries like Mexico and Chile and Brazil, and so many countries that are either better off or even worse off than where those countries are sitting at, they don't have access to the leisures that maybe me or you as the watcher may have. And so that's why we see cryptocurrency trustworthiness rapidly increasing across second and third world countries, because it's a whole lot more applicable for them. They can use cryptocurrencies in maybe a corrupt environment or in an environment where they don't have a great financial ecosystem that they have access to in their country. And I want everyone to kind of understand that, because I was actually just talking to someone yesterday, and he's saying there's really no point to DeFi because I can just go to the bank, or I can just go to any kind of other financial institution. And as I said earlier, I kind of walked him through the idea of, hey, that's great for you, but the vast majority of the world can't do that. They don't have the same financial freedoms that maybe me or you have living in the United States or England or maybe even like Australia or something like that. Because just because we have our own financial regulations here, it's not the same globally. Now, I want to go ahead and dive into what's happening over here on Bitcoin, because as US job growth is officially slowing, Bitcoin is still gaining. Now, it's gaining on the week. I think that we can see that in recent weeks, we have seen a really, really strong rejection from the top of this channel. And after breaking down through this channel, we came back down to support, tested it, and actually bounced off of support. But since then, we have fallen through the bottom of this channel, the bottom of this horizontal support line, and we are now below all of our moving averages, including the 200-day, the 50-day, and the 20-day. Now, the unfortunate turn of events here is if we want to zoom in, we can see that this previous support level that we were bouncing off of is now being tested as resistance. Typically, this isn't the most bullish thing that we can see right now, especially with indices like the S&P 500 falling relatively rapidly in recent days and falling below their moving averages as well. I think one of the most convincing things is that there is still a correlation between traditional indices like NASDAQ and the S&P 500 and Bitcoin in the most of the crypto market. And so with the S&P 500 rejecting the 200-day, then rejecting the 20-day, and then rejecting the 50-day, I'm looking at this, I'm seeing a breakdown, I'm seeing a rejection from 3 different moving averages, and I'm wondering what kind of miracle is going to need to be pulled out here to rapidly turn this around into a bullish month. Now, we know that historically speaking, September is a bearish month for most assets, especially for Bitcoin. I think in the history of Bitcoin, the only 2 green months that Bitcoin has ever had in September was something like 2010 and 11 or something like that, where it was way back. And, someone can always fact check me on that. But historically speaking, Bitcoin does not have a good month during September. And from what we're seeing on the chart right now, things still are falling. We still are setting higher swing lows. So there is that kind of confidence in Bitcoin. And all that I mean by that is that we have a higher swing low here, and then here, and then here. And this level is still technically a higher swing low because we have not broken down below this area yet. So there is still support on Bitcoin despite it seeing a little bit of resistance and rejections in recent weeks. And I think the big areas that I want to see Bitcoin conquer is maybe have it get back above this 50-day moving average and get back above this channel that it was in. Maybe break back into that channel. But if it can't do that and it keeps rejecting this level, we might be retesting the upper end of the teens for Bitcoin. So maybe a $17,000, $18,000, $19,000 Bitcoin could be coming our way in recent weeks. I think the big thing that people are watching out for is, will Bitcoin see a breakdown to $10,000 to $15,000? And I think that's going to be its own video for next week. So we'll save that talking point just a little bit because there's a lot that's going to go into that analysis. But in the immediate kind of price future of Bitcoin, if we're looking at the MACD, the daily MACD over here is actually drying up just a little bit on Bitcoin. So there is still some hope. And if we're looking at the RSI and we want to zoom out on this guy, we actually did come down to this oversold territory and bounce off of it pretty nicely. So I think we hit around a 29 right here. And previously we came all the way down to around a 20. So this would be considered a higher swing low in the oversold territory. I would have liked to see this come down actually a little bit lower, maybe to something like a 24 or 25 instead of a 29, because this would be giving me a lot more assurance that there could be a rally in the short-term future of Bitcoin, but we aren't exactly seeing that. And I also don't like the way that Bitcoin rounded off up here with this kind of like triple top on the RSI. It just kind of showed that Bitcoin was definitely losing momentum as it fell into the top of this channel over here, which was to kind of be expected, right? I mean, we talked about this on the channel, but there was a lot of resistance in this area from previous macro support levels and the rising channel and all sorts of other stuff as well. But with that being said, I want to also kind of talk about this because this article has resurfaced and it talks about how all eyes are on BlackRock and this Coinbase sponsorship. And if you've been around on the channel, we talked about this when it released, but I think people really are starting to get excited and realize the impact that this will have, because BlackRock is the largest asset manager in the world with over $10 trillion or around $10 trillion in assets under management. And so with that being said, if they're partnering to get a premium version of Coinbase for their BlackRock investors and traders through Aladdin, that is essentially giving access to $10 trillion of investors and traders now have access to cryptocurrencies. It's a really big number, right? And that's something that we have not really seen to this level at all yet. I mean, this is global adoption like we have never seen it. And if we would have seen this news happen in 2008 or 19 or 20 or 21, the markets would be flying and freaking out. But despite getting this news, the markets haven't really reacted to this all that much. And, maybe that can be considered a warning sign, but I think on the other side of that argument, we haven't seen this used at all. So all of these BlackRock investors that might want to invest in Bitcoin, they don't have access yet. At least not from my understanding. Maybe I'm wrong in that. But this should be coming eventually. And so I think they're doing a lot of this preparations right now. And this is certainly something to keep an eye on as well. But that's going to round us up on this video. I hope all of you did enjoy. If you did enjoy this video and you want to watch more content like this one, consider hitting the like and subscribe button. I make videos just like this one around 2 to 3 times a week. So if you like the material and what we cover and how I keep you updated, definitely consider sticking around on the channel here. But it was awesome getting to make this content for all of you. I hope all of you have a great weekend and enjoy the holidays for those of you who are celebrating it. And I will see you in next week's video.